Alright, so we're back with yet another support build. And this time it's not a CI build, it's actually a live build. A friend of mine recently played the shocking Pentacurse build that some of you might have watched in my channel. And it brought to my immediate attention the fundamental flaws of that kind of build, which is, in a nutshell, CI. So the problem with CI is you're extremely fragile to pretty much everything. You gotta be really careful not to die. I mean, you take huge hits from everything, even if you have Arctic armor, just because you pretty much have no armor. So if this is not your playstyle, if you don't want to be like behind your teammates, if you don't want to be scared of everything, but you still want to play a support of some kind, then maybe this is more to your liking, more something that applies to your kind of playstyle. The concept is very similar. We use 2 or 3 curses instead of 4 or 5. At the moment I only use 2 because, well, this is a 68 map and you just don't need triple curse. And again, we use shock stacks. I use shock nova at the moment because this character is so tanky, this build actually is so tanky, that you can just run into the pack of mobs into the front and get your shocks off, and you're gonna get triple shock stacks pretty much any time, because every single shock nova should shock. So as soon as you did 3 shock novas, everything should be triple shock stacked. And as a result, the contribution to the group is pretty much the same as a quad or a pentacursor, because with 90%, with 3 shock stacks, we have 90% more damage, which is very realistic to get up with this build. And then we have curses, which is, well, depending on the curse and depending on the party's builds, it is almost double or triple damage, as well as same with the Pentacurse build. So yeah, the contribution is about the same, while you're extremely tanky. I mean, this was my first and almost my only character on Onslaught, and I couldn't kill it. I couldn't do it. I did 75 maps, I did 77 maps, I did Crematorium boss. I just could not get this character killed. It was impossible. And the reason behind this is mostly Arctic armor. I'm using actually a level 20 Arctic armor max. And also, though, I have 20,000. Oh wow, 20,000. Someone has a really strong aura here. Usually I have 12,000 armor, but as you can see here, with these auras I actually have 23,000 almost, and that's pretty insane. And then we have endurance charges as well. I actually have 5 endurance charges, which is not necessary, by the way, really, until high level maps. And even in high level maps, it's very debatable. So we can get to 90% reduction here, including 5 endurance charges. So that's pretty crazy. I have really good gear, which means I also have 58 chaos resistance. But this is a preference. You really don't need this much. And on top of all that tankiness, as if this wasn't enough, we also have Mind over Meta. For Mind over Meta, I would recommend you have a higher mana pool than what you're seeing here with me. I usually have, without these insane auras, I have approximately, let's see, 270. And I would recommend, if you use Mind over Meta, you should have approximately 500 or so as a casting mana pool, and approximately 350 to 400 regen or so. And I can actually achieve this myself by using this hybrid shield instead of my pure evasion shield, and that puts me at 418 regeneration and almost a 500 mana pool. So that's good enough, I would say, to support Mind over Meta. And this means even in 75 maps, in 77 maps, in whatever the hell maps, the likeliness of you taking damage is almost none. I mean, The only thing that's gonna damage you are very high hits for example, the Val Smash in Maze Map or the Dominus Smash. Yeah, they're still gonna do damage to you. They probably won't kill you, but they will do a fair amount of damage to you. So yeah, the only thing that kills you is a one-shot, pretty much. If you don't get one-shot, the chances of dying are almost none. Almost negligible. Negligible, is that a word? I don't know. So yeah, it's extremely tanky. It contributes to the group like a really big deal. Personally, I don't like to use the wind screams, mostly because of the movement speed, which is also why I usually use haste instead of grace. Just because I want to be fast, I want to be mobile as hell. I want to be able to move around quickly and do my cursing, do my shocking. But I wouldn't recommend you use haste yourself until you are fairly good geared, until you're comfortable with the damage that you're taking without grace. So yeah, in the beginning you're gonna use grace, but once you have good gear, haste is a very, very nice option. And as you can see in this map, this is a 68 map, mind you, but the damage I take is very similar in high level maps. Like just take my word for that. As for the gems, it's again very similar to the Pentacurse build. We have our curses, elemental weakness, crit weakness, vulnerability. These three, in my opinion, are generally the best ones. Projectile weakness is technically slightly better, but a lot of people complain when you use projectile weakness because it knocks mobs back, and that's a little bit annoying, just a little bit annoying. Again, we have curses here, curses, and you can link them with increased area, or with faster casting, or with both, or with none, just whatever you prefer, whatever you can do. Arctic armor, lightning warp, you can add this, you can link this with, for example, faster casting and reduced duration. Like I said, this is a character from Onslaught, so it's not really optimized anymore, and I didn't want to put a lot of work into this character just because I'm not playing it anymore. But I just wanted to show you guys what this looks like, because I feel it's very interesting. So here we have the auras: clarity, discipline, haste, or grace. You could potentially replace discipline with, for example, purity of elements. You could replace something else with determination, vitality. The only thing that I do not recommend replacing is clarity, especially if you use Arctic armor. It's actually impossible to replace that. And as for the gear, hybrid gear is very much recommended, but because hybrid gear with resistance, with life, and at the same time still like a decent amount of evasion at ES or armor ES, that kind of stuff is really hard to get. So what I would recommend is usually get a few pure pieces, get like a pure evasion or a pure armor piece or several pure pieces, and then substitute with like a pure ES piece with, I don't know, a Val Regalia or a Hubris Circlet that has really high ES. Just keep in mind it has to have life, or well, it should really have life on it, as well as resistance and high ES. But optimally, yeah, you want to have this kind of stuff, just armor ES. But keep in mind, this is a character that stayed alive for 4 months in the Onslaught League, so my gear is very good, so you shouldn't expect to get this kind of gear. But you don't need to have this kind of gear to be as tanky as this character is. What is very crucial on the gear is you need mana regeneration on your weapon, on your rings, and on your amulet. You very, very much, this is a requirement to support Arctic armor, support a high level of Arctic armor especially. I would recommend you get a weapon like this with spell damage, mana regen, and maybe even chaos resistance. These things are really hard to find, but this one here that you're seeing cost me a chaos, one single chaos. And let me switch here. This is another one. This was the one I was using before. And again, this one cost me a chaos. One goddamn singular chaos. So yeah, some of the gear is hard to find, but when you do find it, it's usually cheap because it is such a niche thing. It's not something people usually use. Yeah, just mix and match with the gear. The only problem is when you get pure evasion or pure armor gear, you usually need a lot of blue links, a lot of blue sockets. So these boots, for example, have 3 off colors. So it's usually only greens, but I rolled 2 blues and 1 red on it, which means usually you're gonna spend quite a few chromatics trying to get this kind of thing. Alright, so on the belt, ES, bonus to ES is a very big deal, and the same actually goes for rings and jewelry. And this is because we have Faith and Steel and Body and Soul. And effectively what this does is it adds survivability because of the armor, and it adds mana because we have Eldritch Battery. And yeah, so every ES is converted into mana, and which results in more mana regen. So that's it's pretty insane to have these nodes. You don't need the endurance charge, to be honest. As a Scion, I would recommend you go out here, take Whispers of Doom as soon as possible, take life nodes at the same time if you need to. Iron Reflexes, we go down to Mind Over Meta, which, as I said, I wouldn't recommend until you have like a very high mana pool to actually support this, and a very high regen to support this. If you need additional regen because your gear is not that good, you could take these nodes. I used to have these, but I ditched them because I just didn't need them anymore. Eldritch Battery, I would pick this up around level 50 or 60 or so. Just because before that level, there's no chance you're going to support a high level Arctic armor anyway. And yeah. Then we have the Shock Link here, Shock Nova, Added Lightning, Lightning Penetration, Prolif, and faster casting, and you could substitute faster casting for, let's say, an Iron Will if you wanted to. I just like to have faster casting because, well, if you shock repeatedly, you do more damage. Well, your party does more damage. And you should really try to get Shock Nova and Added Lightning as quality because they add chance to shock and shock duration. And shock duration is indirectly another chance to shock because if your shock duration is very short, that means you might put a shock on the mob, but it's gonna be so short that you don't even see it. It's gonna be just gone instantly. Flasks, yeah, you don't need these instant flasks, to be honest. They're just like a safety thing for me personally. If I do get myself in a big kind of trouble, I can just use these and hopefully run the fuck away. Granite, same thing. If I do feel like I'm getting myself into trouble, Granite, Quicksilver, and just run the hell away. And I think that's pretty much everything. The endurance charges, like I said, you don't need them until high level maps. They're completely unnecessary. And I'm gonna put a link in the description because this build, this skill tree that you're seeing, it's a Templar, and optimally you want to start as a Scion, but at the time when this character was created, the Scion was not actually available because it was Onslaught. So yeah, you could do a little bit of optimizing here, and I'll put a link for you guys in the description. So if you have any more questions, just feel free to check me out on Twitch. I will try to answer whatever questions you have, and I hope you guys enjoyed the guide, and I will see you guys around.